What's going on YouTube? Welcome to another portrait painting live stream. Today we're going to talk about simplify like the old masters. So let us start with a little lecture and then we'll get into painting. Here's some old master inspiration. On the left we have Vigi Lebrun, the middle John Singer Sargent, the right we've got Rembrandt. The important takeaway when you look at old masters and you approach painting on your own is to number one, remember to internalize the techniques. So you may just be getting started with oil painting, so even if internalizing the techniques means just get used to drawing a square, a sphere, or whatever, internalize it. Let the subjective be the color and don't lose the painting for the likeness. And we'll reiterate these things as the demonstration goes on. So now I'm just going to go ahead and get started with painting. On my palette I have an array of colors going from white, yellow, orange, red, pink, green, blue, and black. I'm going to draw with black, and my canvas was toned ahead of time. With these demonstrations, I will prioritize the painting. So I won't be talking quite as much, but this is live, so please feel free to ask any questions that you have while I'm painting. Hey Janice, welcome, welcome. I have adjusted the reference such that it is also at an angle now. The camera is at an angle with respect to my canvas. So that is, if you want to draw or paint along with me and you want to draw with the image distorted in the same way that the painting is due to the camera, that'll work out for you. The reason I did that was because it was suggested, I don't know how many years ago, to make the image in the same angle as what I'm painting. So it's up to you. If you want me to put the regular image, I can without the distortion, but that would have to be for a different live stream. Hey Jonas, welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's doing well. See, I told you I would do these live streams at least once a week, right? Oh, I'm here. I'm painting on a wooden surface that was prepared with shellac and acrylic paint. So the warm tone to it is from the shellac, and the cool undertone is from the acrylic. This was a wooden panel that I bought that actually kind of messed up. It came warped on the bottom, so I'm only going to use it for this portrait sketch. It's actually pretty close to the value of the tone of my palette. I have a walnut wood palette that I made. So Jonas, he said, what do you think about starting an Alla prima quickly, then slowing down and taking your time to finish? Yeah, that's pretty much the process that I use. You described perfectly the process that I work in these days. Even though you don't really see any of my studio work on here. I mean, I could live stream for a little bit some of my studio work, but that's actually how I go about it. And I think most people go about it that way too. It's just a way to Alla prima is pretty much just a way to cover the canvas quickly, and you're working with the same variables that you are if you're working with lines, but the only difference being that you get to incorporate color faster. So I think that starting that way is beneficial for people with very confident paint handling skills. So for example, like in this, however long this stream is going to be, the likeness is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be just right as it would be if I was to spend a couple sessions on it. You know, I could move one thing a little to the left, a little to the right, and I can move it with color as opposed to having to get the line just right and then fill it in. That works better with something a little less forgiving like watercolor or acrylic. So starting that way, the way that you've just described, starting with Alla prima and then slowing down, is I think a better way, more efficient way with oil paint, but maybe isn't the easiest when it comes to you know, something like watercolor or acrylic. But to be fair, with oil paint, because it does dry really really slow, you can work any which way you want. Oil paint, in my opinion, is the most forgiving material you can work with. So right now I'm working with the mask of the face, kind of like Sargent would work with the mask of the face. He would say, think of the features of the face like spots on an apple, right? So I'm just building the mask of the face right now. I could really care less. The eye could be here, the eye could be up here, or the eye could be down there. I really don't care. I'm building the structure of the face. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked the explanation. And I prefer a handheld palette. I am in the middle of a new series of studio paintings. So I'm painting about 10 to 12 hours a day with breaks. That's why the palette looks like this. This looks way different than when you saw it before. There's a lot of dried paint on the corners. This paint has seen probably like 40, 45 hours of use in like a week, uh, a week's time. So that the palette has been through a lot, and it's going to continue to go through a lot. I sealed it with Armor Seal oil-based polyurethane. But first, I added boiled linseed oil to it. So the palette is developing a pretty natural kind of patina to it really fast. But that's not really what matters right now. What matters is just big shapes of color. And then I'm just gonna move them around, move the little puzzle pieces around. Like I said, I could really care less about the details right now, or even the likeness for that matter. I really don't care, because I know I can build up to that. But for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just gonna stick with the face. So here, let's develop this cheekbone area and then add specificity up there. Now the old masters would focus on different things based on what their objective was. If it's a commission, then they had to go with whatever their client wanted them to do. After all, it is a job. But for their own purposes, you will see that most of the time, if not pretty much all the time, that you see a portrait as fine art, meaning more than just a literal description of someone's face, there is a element of composition to it. So the face, rather than being the end all, having it look like the person, it suits a composition. So there's a higher objective in order than just, it looks like the person, good job. You could have done that with taking a picture. It's 2020s. So we have even more to work with now than the old masters. But understanding the simplification that the old masters employed, that's what we're doing here. this is an interesting setup because of the dual lighting. my paints, I use a mix of alkyd and regular oil paint. Alkyd accelerates the drying. Regular oil paint just dries like the speed of regular oil paint, which is touch dry under say moderate humidity conditions in about 1 to 2 days, whereas alkyd will be touch dry within probably 5 hours or so, and fully reworkable in 24 hours. Yeah, these brushes are the XDT brushes that I have linked in the description box. However, since I linked them in the description box last week, and I'm sure this has nothing to do with me, but they are now unavailable. It really annoys me that that happens, but it kind of happens. Just, yeah, that kind of annoys me. But these brushes are kind of similar to, I want to say, the Princeton Catalyst Polytip bristles. So if you want a type of brush that works similar to this, the Princeton Catalyst Polytip bristle is close, if not better than these. But luckily, before they became unavailable on Amazon, I ordered 5 more packs of them. So I'm working with shapes, letting the pieces fall where they may. When it comes to the simplicity, like the old masters, once again, the first bullet point, there's only 3 of them. The first bullet point said to internalize the techniques. So working with shapes is the technique that I'm using. Letting the pieces fall where they may. Give yourself a chance to see. Painting is the art of seeing. If it's not, then tell me what might be. Now my goal here is to move the pieces around. I've got just enough information that I can work with. Moving the pieces around till they fit just right. Now these little accents may look cool, they may look kind of fun, and certainly when you're adding them in, there's a certain um, gratification from adding a new element into the composition. But you have to slow yourself down. Don't get caught up. Focus on the form, focus on the values. Hey Louis Wolf, no, I've never experimented with oil sticks before. I always wanted to, but never really got to them. You've tried the Sennelier and RGH. Yeah, the local art store, I think either used to carry them or still carries them. I haven't tried them out. They're kind of pricey, at least at the store over here. Used to be a Plaza, now it's a Blick. What do you like about the oil sticks? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll check my Instagram. Thanks for sending a DM. I'll check it after the stream. Or, oh yeah, I could just check it now. It's my short-term memory. Let's see. I didn't get one. It should be Yupari Fine Art. Yeah, I haven't seen it on my Instagram. You said, imagine explaining acrylic paint to Renaissance artists who spent mornings grinding minerals into powder. I think egg tempera. Well, yeah, the process of yeah, I mean the immediacy of acrylic. But I'm sure it'd probably be something kind of like an egg tempera. Of course, that is a process in and of itself, also. Said 3 ads worst time. Louis. I'm kind of amazed that YouTube's even. Of course, I clicked monetize, but usually YouTube does not prioritize me, algorithm wise. I'm even surprised that they gave you an ad. But that means they gave me 3/10 of a penny. So I appreciate your patience with the ads. Trust me, I don't like ads either. I don't like them either. But it means that your favorite creators get 3/10 of a penny. So that's something. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get cereal out of it, but you know, that's kind of the way the ads work. Yeah, Sergeant watercolors are something else when it comes to paint handling. Definitely something worth studying. Of all Sargent's watercolors, I like the. Of course, it'd be a portrait that I like, but yeah, it's a portrait of a. And I forgot the name of the lady, but it's a elderly lady that was a big supporter of Sargent's. I think it's Elizabeth Stewart Gardner. I think that was her name. I mean, there's a museum of the work she owned of Sargent's. People love inserting their middle name into things. John Singer Sargent, Elizabeth Stewart Gardner, John William Waterhouse. I guess if your name is John, you probably want to use your middle name. Kind of makes sense. Well, there goes the spot that I rest my pinky on, so there's gonna be some little pinky marks over there soon. On my palette, medium wise, I have linseed oil and Gamblin's solvent free fluid, the gel version of it. I think it's solvent free gel. like I said, I really, really like these brushes. Which I probably shouldn't be telling you since they got, uh, they're I don't know if it's temporarily, but they're not available on Amazon anymore. And I had just introduced them to you last week. But you can see how smooth of a mark I could make without, subtracting too much paint. And I could go a whole day on a whole 10-hour shift of painting with two of these brushes, two brushes, and yeah, they work just fine. They're honestly, in some regards, better than my silver brushes. Yeah, I said it. What? Take that, Silverbrush. Anyway, they're really good, and I'm going to have to buy some Princeton Catalyst probably to bristles, because I think these are probably the same formula. Because you know how like many companies will just copy other companies and market it, so maybe that's what happened. I don't know really. These brushes are excellent. Sorry they're not available anymore. But everyone loves rosemary brushes, so I guess thousands of people can't be wrong. So I guess go with rosemary if you want guaranteed good brushes. But these are 7-cent brushes right here. Can't beat it. Bought in a pack from Amazon. $7 a brush. I'm gonna stop talking now because that's when I usually screw up my painting. And like I said, this is nothing more than a start. This is a sketch. AAD Conquest. So how do you add paint without subtracting the paint under it? I'd say it has a lot to do with pressure. If you apply less pressure and if your brush is really soft, you should be able to apply wet paint over wet paint. Now sometimes it will shovel the paint around regardless, so there's always going to be a little of that when you're working wet on wet. So if that happens, don't think you're doing anything wrong. It's just the nature of the game sometimes. But what helps is a little less pressure and softer brushes. And work with more paint in the beginning, thicker paint, and then thinner paint sticks really nicely onto thicker paint. But that kind of thinking can complicate it, so the best way to simplify it is just pressure, just a little less pressure and softer brushes. And you can get brushes like these on Amazon or anywhere you want. These are just like, I don't know, you buy them in bulk for like paint nights or whatever, and they work just fine. They're really soft. They end up being pennies per brush. You can clean them if you want or throw them out afterwards. I tend to keep them until they don't work anymore. But I appreciate the question. See how that one worked? Just a little less pressure. I did not subtract. But when you're adding light onto dark, you don't actually won't notice when it does subtract. So I typically will paint light into dark with Alla prima. Alla prima is pretty much the only way that I work these days, but I've got videos on other methods too. Yep, no problem. I hope that helps you out. Again, everybody, I'm not talking as much with this live stream, but I'm open to answering questions as I'm painting. I'm trying this thing out where I'm painting a little bit more intent, and you know, I'm gonna have the slideshow or the little you know, talk in the beginning, and then in the end. But please feel free to ask any questions if you have questions. I don't bite. I promise I won't bite. I'm also probably thousands of miles away from you, so I don't bite. Another person online. What's going on? Yep. Good old Sergeant Rembrandt. And let's not forget Vigie Lebrun. I'm actually going to recreate a palette that she has in her self-portrait. Like the actual wooden thing that she holds to mix paint. If you look in her self-portraits, she's got an oval palette that she holds. Internalized anger. You know, sometimes painting can be aggravating. But internalize the technique. Um, what I mean is, there is a time to focus on getting new information. That's when you're in class, in a classroom setting, a dedicated exercise. Portrait is like an accumulation of all the experience you've got. And you must let the subconscious kind of take control. It's like driving a car. The old masters were very, very, very diligent with their studio hours. At least I would think. Really? Nelson said that? Internalize the feelings? I mean, I know that Nelson, I quote Nelson all the time. He says, find form with freedom. But I didn't hear anything about using internalize, but same kind of concept. Y'all, I have been painting non-stop for days. I mean, I'm seeing stars. Like, I don't even know what I'm painting. Like, I've been painting for so many days straight. I'm, you know, in full painting mode. I got Eminem on my headphones. A canvas, or this is a surface that I prepared with just acrylic paint and shellac. Like, it's very unconventional. Like, there's just all kinds of cray. But that's what you want to do. You want to get to the point where you don't even know what you're painting. You're just painting. Understood. Yeah, clocking out of work and brain is crispy fried. Yeah, I understand. Totally get it. I mean, best thing is to just get a sketchbook, and you know, if you're just watching a TV show or something, just any chance you get with the sketchbook, you know, that's a good avenue. I understand. I'd like to think I'm painting better this way, you know, even though I'm not talking as much. I could just be losing my mind. I mean, when I see this later, I'm sure I'm gonna see things I wish I'd done differently, and I'm sure the likeness police is going to comment on it on once I'm done. But yeah, I've just been putting in a lot of hours, y'all. Just lots of hours to prepare for marketing commissions and uh, competitions, painting competitions. That's what I've been doing. Creating portfolio work for competitions. I pretty much quit playing pool. Not entirely, but just stopped. What I did kind of on the side, I am not doing now. Just full painting. But be careful with that. The burnout is real. You just gotta work through it, basically. Don't feel like painting? Pick up the brush. Even if it's a still life inside of a larger composition, just paint. Paint till you can't. While you can. And these quick sketches are really good for paint handling. This is pretty much kind of like the equivalent of a plein air painting for me. Like it's just all about paint handling, controlling the value range in a very quick time frame. I don't care about this painting. I could grab it and throw it out the window. I really don't care. And that's kind of the mentality of a sketch, a quick sketch. And you always want to be that free if you can. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. Thanks, AD Conquest. Thanks, AD Conquest. And again, please, anyone got any questions while I'm here live, just feel free to ask. The limo guys are all about anatomy. Oh, it was autocorrect. Loss? Who's the loss guy? Anatomy is good to know. Anatomy is useful to place the parts. But another big thing about this process is, and for me, it's been helping me a lot, is this handheld palette that I made. Not to shamelessly market anything to you. You can use any palette that you want, but I do make palettes. Um, Regardless of how you get the palette, what's important is being really, really accustomed to it. I like holding a palette. This just happens to be the size that I like, but holding the palette feels like a hug. It helps with the anxiety, or like it helps with any kind of negativity. The palette is somewhat of a therapist for me. And it may not be good for my arm to keep my arm suspended for so long, no matter how light the palette is or how well designed it is. But honestly, I feel like this is the best one I've done, probably ever, at least on YouTube as a sketch. And I attribute it to my newest studio habits. Oh, Loomis method. There you go. That's what you meant, Loomis method. Yeah, the Loomis method. Yeah, it's important, like for planes of the face and stuff like that. But um, a lot of that stuff is like color theory. Um, yeah, it's like color theory. It's something you want to know and always have in the back of your mind, but don't let it um, totally influence what you do. It's good to know though. It's a good information to know to start with. AD Conquest, you said, do you leave the paint on the edge of the palette for several days? Doesn't it affect the quality of the paint as it starts to dry? Correct. Yes, it does. It does affect the paint as it starts to dry, especially with alkyds, which is what I'm using. Alkyds, ALKYDS. I think that's how you spell them. Once they dry too much, then you want to kind of dig into the paint pile and then you have some extra. But for example, yeah, it can happen where some of it's not useful, like right here. Like this, I took off of the palette because it dried. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of mash into it, and then I'll add some medium. I could even use my palette knife, like a little bit of linseed oil to it, and then you see there, right here, I can still use it. So yeah, the best habit is to just take the paint off the palette and put it in storage. That's the best thing to do, but because I paint so often, I just don't have the energy to take it off the pallet, put it in the storage container. But if you have the time to put it in a separate container, then that's better if you could do that. Yeah. Good question though. Great observation. Another person online getting a little faster. Yeah. Here, AD Conquest. I have some very strange quirks about me, other than trying to do painting for a living. I have a problem when just a little spot of paint dries on a brand new palette. So I'd rather have the corners of my palette be dried up with paint, but I clean the middle always. Always preserve the middle. But for some reason, it just bothers me when the palette is perfectly clean, but then there's that one little spot. It doesn't bother a lot of people, like a lot of people. It doesn't bother them, but for me, it does. So I just get a little bit anxious if the palette looks a little funny. Like I don't really use a palette that I don't feel somewhat attached to. So I always hated having the palette next to the painting. I never liked that. I always did that for the video, but it always sacrificed my painting results. Another person online, yes and no. Sometimes I'm able to scrape by with it. Sometimes I'm not. I've got lots of great commissions and sales and monetization money over the years, but sometimes I can't. It's tough. So it's a life of sacrifice, unfortunately. So if you want to be a full-time artist, or if you want to pursue your dreams, do it. Do it. No matter what happens, you know in your heart and your soul that you're pursuing what you love. And sometimes pursuing what you love will cost you everything. But if it means that much to you, then you will pursue it. No worries, another person online. the Loomis people are all about making money. It makes sense. There's a lot to be said about marketing, art education. So that's a big one if you are, you know, able to do that. Riley. Yeah. That's good that they preach the practical side of it. Speaking of the practical side, I will be marketing commissions on Etsy very soon. I'm almost done with the portfolio to market it, and I'll share that info with y'all. If anything, it might help with some of you interested in the career side of this. I just wasn't happy with my previous works, so I just had to get better, and that's not easy to do. But I think I did it. I got a little bit better, but there's always more room to improve, obviously. But for commissions, if you want to go down that route, you have to be nearly savant level with painting. You have to. You can't, I mean, unless you are a marketing whiz. And when I mean nearly savant, I mean push the limits of what's humanly possible for you, and then some. It's very hard. But if you love it, you will push through it. You will. Janice, the smallest size oil painting I've ever done. I think I have it around here somewhere. 6 inches by 3 inches. Funny you asked that question. I painted it on copper like, I don't know, 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I will paint over this though. I'm gonna do another one because I'll probably paint it on the back side. But yeah, this is the smallest I've done. I mean, I painted on smaller, but only like little demonstrations, not like a painting. It's actually really tough to paint small. I've got a lot of little still life objects in my recent paintings. Even with the smallest brush that I have, it's a very difficult just even the dexterity, like to get into a little line or a little midtone that's like almost the size of a hair. It's actually not that easy to do. Even right here, this right here. This is an awkward brush stroke right here, see this? Like moving that up, that's hard to do. And this is when the realism gets really real, but I tend to stop before it gets to the level of a photograph, which I don't like. That's why I showed you the old masters in the beginning, because in the end we're gonna go back and forth between what the old masters did and what I did, and how I got influence from them. But I've been painting and drawing pretty much all my life. Oil painting when I was in high school, but we're talking about like acrylics and crayons and stuff like that since I was a child. But it's a tough world, my friends. The art world. Not to be too pessimistic, but the most important thing, I gotta tell you, the most important thing, in my opinion, is if you truly do love it. Love is one of those things where you care almost nothing about anything else, and you just push on. I mean, Rembrandt, his final years were nothing but struggle. After Saskia, his first wife, passed away, things went real downhill for him, and he just kept going. We all know about Van Gogh, so I won't even bring that one up, but if you love it, you will do it. There's no better feeling than doing what you love and improving upon what you're doing. There's nothing better. And it will cost you. It will cost you, my friends. Thanks, Janice. You want it? In the future, I'll be probably selling these off. Like I said, this is a sketch that has a certain purpose to it, which is to market commission. So thank you. I'm glad that you liked the painting. That means my commissions might have a chance. We shall see. Of course they will. They have to. I appreciate it. It's been tough. Trying to improve is tough. Okay, so 2.5 hours is about decent time. Like I said, these portrait sketches are an excellent way to improve on your paint handling. But the main topic was introduced in the beginning of the video. As I said, the majority of the painting demonstration was going to be without talking, and hopefully I did that. But like I said, during these videos, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And when we wrap this up, we'll go back to the Vigi Lebrun, the Sargent, and the Rembrandt. And I'll tell you what I had in mind when I was painting this, that I took inspiration from with those three artists. I don't know if I've used Mars Violet before, Janice, but I've got the Daxazine Purple on my palette. I'm not sure if I've used Magenta, but I don't know about Mars Violet. Again, I've been painting for so many years, I don't remember all of the colors that I've used. Alrighty, so we're a little bit past 2.5 hours, so we're about to wrap this one up and talk about what, if anything, I got from painting this and thinking about Viggy LeBrun, Sargent, and Rembrandt. So let's go ahead now and take a look at that. Timer is up. Timer is up. All right, let's take a look here. I can already tell you one thing that comes to mind with the three old masters that I mentioned. All right, so let's go back to the key takeaways. Internalize the techniques. Don't lose the painting for the likeness. Color is subjective. So again, the likeness police will probably comment and say this looks nothing like the reference. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. This is a demonstration for you. I can work on this longer and make it look closer to the picture, but that's not the purpose of today. Color-wise, I could have made these lights purple, I could have made them blue, as long as the value is correct. That's all that really matters. And about the technique, well, we started pretty much just kind of throwing lights which any way we wanted to, and then went in with a cheekbone and built it from the inside out. Still, it's not finished, it's still in the building from the inside out. There's a couple things I could move, probably compress some areas a little bit more, straighten this little shape out more, things like that. But again, not thinking so much about it and letting the subconscious do what it does. Now going to the old masters. First thing, Vigi Lebrun on the left. This is more along the lines of the work ethic. Vigi Lebrun was an incredible painter, but she was also an incredible she had incredible studio habits. She was quite prolific. So I'm pretty sure that when Vigi Lebrun painted, just like what I did here today, I don't think she was too worried about the end result as she was just applying the paint and creating something and then working with it. But of course, these are just all my best guesses, okay? All right, Sargent. Sargent is pretty much the key pillar of get the job done and let the brush strokes kind of land as they may. Sargent was a workaholic when it comes to commissions, and knowing exactly how to abbreviate form. Look at the nose that he painted. Again, Sargent is the one in the middle. Sargent's the one in the middle. Look at how he exaggerated the chin and the nose to give it an aesthetic. Well, same thing I thought about here, right there. The aesthetic, kind of pushing and pulling, letting these brush strokes here kind of do their job. A little fun brush stroke over there to draw attention over here. Gimmicky kind of things is what comes to mind when I think of Sargent, which is good for marketing paintings. Going and letting little brush strokes show through. Not that I have to, but the little brush strokes here and there, pushing a little light to kind of bring more contrast is nothing to do with form, but everything to do with the aesthetics. On the right, Rembrandt. That's the one all the way to the right. What I thought about Rembrandt more than what I thought about from Rembrandt more than anything while I was painting was the paint handling. Rembrandt was a savant when it comes to paint handling, working with the nature of oil paint. And I thought about him a lot when I was adding light paint onto the dark paint, even the beginning of it. I'm pretty sure Rembrandt's paintings, though there are underpaintings in there, I'm pretty sure that he worked very much alla prima with big pieces of paint and developed it that way. So in that sense, I'm almost always thinking about Rembrandt, but I'm always thinking about the old masters when I'm working. And we've done master studies of all of them. We've done a Vigi Lebrun, we've done a Sargent, we've done many Sargents, we've done many Rembrandts, but not as much as the Sargent. The Sargent we've done probably the most of all. But that's what I had in mind while I was painting this. So that's how you can simplify like the old masters. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you next time.